I know this isn't my usual topic, but I'm a big gearhead, obviously, and as a sound designer in my real life, audio quality is extremely important to me. As I'm one of the first people to receive a Rode Wireless Go 2 set of lavaliere microphones, I wanted to do a review and let anyone interested know how useful these mics will be for those of us who are in a do-it-yourself type situation for audio and video recording. Let's take a look and listen and find out how good this mic setup really is. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. First, I want to be really clear about this. I'm not being paid to do this at all. I paid full retail value for both of these microphones right here that I'll show you. I got them from B&H and I received them just 2 days after the mic setup was officially released to the public. But like I said in the intro, I'm a big tech nerd and also do professional audio work. So I have a trained ear for this and I really do care about audio quality a great deal. So let's start with what comes in the package for the Rode Wireless Go 2 kit. First of all, you get 2 wireless transmitters with built-in microphones, plus a 1/8 inch TRS connection for wired microphones. And by the way, that's exactly what I'm wearing here. I know you can't see it. This is kind of goofy. I wouldn't normally do this, but I've got the one with the built-in microphone down here, and I've got the one with my attached wired lavaliere microphone here, and it's connected to my belt. Also, my receiver is over here. I can't show you, but I'll show you a picture. It is picking this up all wirelessly. So anyway, there are 2 wireless transmitters and there's 1 wireless receiver with 2 channels so it can accept both of the channels from both of these inputs. All 3 of these, the 2 transmitters and the 1 receiver, are number 1, almost identically sized. In fact, I think they are identically sized. They also, all 3 have rechargeable lithium-ion batteries and they provide about 7 hours of use per charge. Also with the kit, you get 3 dead cats, quote unquote, for wind or popping noise reduction. These, by the way, are great. You can actually screw them onto the top of the built-in microphone like so, and you can twist it on and it will actually stay there. You can like bounce it around and everything. So that's pretty cool. Again, I'll show a picture of that. Not really necessary indoors, but if you're doing anything outdoors, that's super useful. The kit also comes with 3 USB-C to USB-A cables. You plug this side into the transmitter or the receiver and this side into a power brick or your laptop or whatever, and that will actually charge it up. And additionally, it will give you access to the Rode Central software so you can control some things for your receiver or your transmitter. I'll talk more about that in a little while. Also, you get a 1/8 inch or TRS to TRS cable, so you can hook the receiver up directly to your camera if you wish to, or in my case, I hooked it up to my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. And all of this comes with a nice little travel pouch that can contain the transmitters and the receiver and the cabling and actually my lavaliere microphone. All of that stuff fits in here, so that's pretty sweet. The entire setup, by the way, was $299 at B&H and I'm sure many other places. If you're interested, I will definitely put a link in the description so you can look at one yourself. Along with this, I also separately purchased a Rode SE15 USB-C to iPhone Lightning cable at $25 to connect the receiver directly to my iPhone. And of course, there's a parallel one that works with Android as well. As far as software is concerned, you can also download Rode Central for Mac and PC right now, and supposedly very soon for iPhone and Android. And this software allows extra control over the transmitters and the receiver. Rode Central, by the way, is clearly very early on software. It's a bit buggy right now, but we'll get to that later on in this review. As you might expect from the name, the Rode Wireless Go 2 is an evolution of the Wireless Go transmitter-receiver pair that Rode introduced over a year ago. This new system now allows dual transmitters to be used with the receiver, allowing either stereo from one subject or recording 2 subjects at once. In other words, like a documentary-style interview. So why should you think of purchasing this setup? Well, number 1, it is dirt simple. Everything comes prepared, controls are very obvious, there are only a few things that can be user-adjusted, and it literally works out of the box with your PC via a digital USB connection, an audio interface, or with your camera via the TRS cable, or with your iPhone or Android with an additional cable. So basically you need to know next to nothing about audio to make this all work very, very well. Number 2, the built-in microphones on the transmitters mean you don't need any extra equipment. Now, admittedly, the transmitters are pretty boxy and obvious if you wear them, because obviously you can tell. So it's not like you're going to be hidden or anything like that, but you can definitely get away with using them exactly as is, as long as you don't mind that. Number 3, the transmitters have TRS input, so you can use a dedicated lav microphone with each transmitter, like I'm using right here. You can purchase the matched lavaliere microphones for $79 each, although I used my Rode Link Lav that I already had for testing and for recording right now. And of course, any lavaliere microphone with a 1/8 inch TRS connector will work just fine with the transmitters. Number 4 is onboard recording on the transmitters themselves. They provide 7 hours of uncompressed or about 23 hours of compressed audio, which of course provides a great safety backup if you get dropouts in your receiver or if your recorder stops recording for some reason or whatever. And of course, this is especially great for interviews where you could miss something important if a cutout happened. Number 5, they have a 650-foot or 200-meter range from transmitter to receiver, so you don't have to be right next to your camera or recording device to record audio. In testing, I found the range inside my house to be a lot less than this, but I walked around several walls as part of the process. I think line of sight wise, it probably is about 200 meters, but inside a house with multiple walls between you and the receiver, you know, you might be looking at a lot less than that, so you should definitely test your system out before you try to record in another room. Number 6, of course, is that the setup is extremely portable and flexible. And number 7 is the price. Now, this isn't the cheapest by any means, but you get a lot of stuff for your money, and you save a lot of money and complexity versus professional solutions. So those are the reasons I could think of why you should buy this setup, but if sound quality is not good, or if there are dropouts, who cares? It would not be worth the price, obviously. To test out the sound, I recorded in 6 configurations for the wireless Go 2, and I compared that to my baseline Rode NTK microphone, which is a very high quality vacuum tube amp studio microphone that of course produces excellent sound. The test configurations were, number 1, the built-in Go 2 microphone at -30 decibel gain reduction. Number 2, the lavaliere microphone attached to the Go 2 at -30 decibel gain reduction. Number 3, the built-in Go 2 microphone at -15 decibel gain reduction. And number 4, the lavaliere microphone attached to the Go 2 at -15 decibel gain reduction. And by the way, for all 4 of these setups, both of the microphones were recorded simultaneously using the left-right split mode on the receiver. In other words, it recorded a stereo pair that my digital audio workstation, which is Logic Pro, could isolate in post-production. I then passed both channels through my focused right Scarlett 2i2 audio interface box. My 5th configuration was recording directly to Logic Pro through the digital USB interface out of the receiver. And finally, my 6th configuration was recording directly to my iPhone using the SC15 cable. And finally, as my baseline, I recorded via my NTK microphone using my standard settings. Unfortunately, I had to record this separately as the Go 2 left-right stereo mix took up both channels of my 2i2 interface. So before we get to listening to the tests, a few notes. Number 1, the Scarlett interface needed to be set to instrument mode to get enough gain to hear the receiver's output at good levels. Number 2, the external lavaliere microphone, in other words this one, was not affected by the gain settings on the transmitter receiver, which is actually a real shame. I certainly hope this is going to be corrected via a software update from Rode. Due to this fact, the signal from the wired lavaliere microphone was very low, so when normalized you can hear a significant noise floor from when it was input via the 2i2 interface. Number 3, as I mentioned before, in walkaway tests, I got nowhere near the 650 feet before dropouts, but like I said, I had 3 walls between the transmitter and receiver, so that's not hugely surprising. But still, these tiny transmitters clearly do not have the oomph of a more professional solution, which just barrels through the walls no problem. If you plan to do something weird like record in a separate room from your interview setup, you probably want a more powerful transmitter-receiver combination than this is going to give you. Note number 4, I have both raw input levels and normalized levels, in other words 80% max RMS. I did no other audio post-processing on the test audio. For the recording I'm doing now, I'm obviously using both the wired lavaliere microphone and, of course, the built-in one, and I'm recording both of those at the same time on the left-right split pair, and I'll switch back and forth between them throughout this entire review. I'll put down little notes when I switch, so hopefully you'll be able to hear it over time if there's differences between the 2 mics. And of course, for this full review while I'm talking to you, I'm going to add noise reduction and voiceover EQ settings to improve the sound of my very thin voice. For the test that I'm about to play for you, however, I'm not going to do any of that. As I only recorded audio for these tests, I'm going to put up some pretty pictures I took of Utah last fall while we listened to the audio tests. You can look at the title cards to indicate which settings and which microphones I was using at any given time. In a moment, let's listen to my tests, which, by the way, use the first few lines of Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem Xanadu. But first, if you enjoyed this video, please do like it so other people can find it. And of course, if you want more of this and more about Tesla and technology and so forth, please do subscribe to the channel. Also, a big shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You all are so wonderful. Thank you so much. We have a new patron since last time, Bill Walsh. Nice to meet you, Bill. Also, as always, a big thank you to Zenly Music for the intro and conclusion music. And don't forget our merch store, which has a number of really interesting t-shirts like All Input is Error, as well as tumblers and coffee mugs, etc., etc. Definitely go take a look around and you can help support the channel. And finally, don't forget we are Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can click on the links and you can help out the channel just by going shopping. All right, and now for our audio tests. If you really want to hear the results well, I suggest you try a good set of speakers or some quality headphones. You ready? Let's take a listen. This is a test. The left channel on this one is the built-in microphone. The right channel on this one is the lav microphone that's attached to the other wireless transmitter. I'm recording these two at the same time. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a test. The left channel on this one is the built-in microphone. The right channel on this one is the lav microphone that's attached to the other wireless transmitter. I'm recording these two at the same time. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a retest with the gain set to minus 15 decibels instead of minus 30. The built-in microphone on the receiver seems to be adjustable via this, but the lav microphone appears to be extremely quiet, and so it doesn't seem to be able to be adjusted by the input on the receiver, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a retest with the gain set to minus 15 decibels instead of minus 30. The built-in microphone on the receiver seems to be adjustable via this, but the lav microphone appears to be extremely quiet, and so it doesn't seem to be able to be adjusted by the input on the receiver, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. And finally, for consistency, I'm going to use the Rode NTK studio microphone as kind of a basis to judge the other ones on. So this is approximately, I guess, maybe a foot away from my mouth, about a wide hand breadth. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a test. The left channel on this one is the built-in microphone. The right channel on this one is the lav microphone that's attached to the other wireless transmitter. I'm recording these two at the same time. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a test. The left channel on this one is the built-in microphone. The right channel on this one is the lav microphone that's attached to the other wireless transmitter. I'm recording these two at the same time. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a retest with the gain set to minus 15 decibels instead of minus 30. The built-in microphone on the receiver seems to be adjustable via this, but the lav microphone appears to be extremely quiet, and so it doesn't seem to be able to be adjusted by the input on the receiver, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is a retest with the gain set to minus 15 decibels instead of minus 30. The built-in microphone on the receiver seems to be adjustable via this, but the lav microphone appears to be extremely quiet, and so it doesn't seem to be able to be adjusted by the input on the receiver, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. And finally, for consistency, I'm going to use the Rode NTK studio microphone as kind of a basis to judge the other ones on. So this is approximately, I guess, maybe a foot away from my mouth, about a wide hand breadth. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. All right, welcome back. I expect if you listened with good speakers or headphones, you could readily hear the differences between the different setups. What did I hear? Well, as is going to shock just about no one, the Rode NTK studio microphone blows away the smaller mics in clarity, background noise reduction, and overall quality of reproduction. The NTK is an expensive, large diaphragm cardioid pattern studio microphone, so obviously it did a great job in a studio setting. With its wired connections, a big vacuum-powered amp, and the need for an audio interface, it is definitely not a great mobile solution, however, so you can't really take this thing on the road very easily. So what about the go-to tests? I personally found the built-in microphones a bit hollow or boomy, between being an omnidirectional microphone, being a small diaphragm microphone setup, and of course having to be relatively inexpensive to reduce the overall cost of the whole kit. This is not a big shock. Are the built-in mics useful? Of course. I'm going to be doing a road trip this summer in my Tesla, so definitely subscribe to follow along with that, and will almost certainly use this exact setup to record audio. In a car, having the microphone close to me rather than far away on my phone is going to drastically improve quality, and with a car running in the background or being outside, this is going to be a huge step up from the iPhone's built-in microphone. I do find the boxy nature of these things kind of an eyesore, and I'll at least put a black gaffer's tape over this, so it's not, so you don't have all the little words and things like that to make them stand out a little bit less. But still, in general, they're pretty small and a marvel of technology, and they produce pretty decent sound. What about the wired lavaliere microphone? This was better for sure, but I also found the audio a bit hollow and thin compared to the NTK reference. In a situation like recording this video and other videos in my studio, this will be my setup if I want to be able to move around more and not have a gigantic microphone in frame at all times. But of course you do trade off the audio quality with the much smaller diaphragm size of lavaliere microphones. And the biggest downside to the wired lavaliere microphone, with the TRS input to my Scarlett interface at least, is that there's no control over the lav's level. It appears to be stuck at the negative 30 decibel setting no matter what settings I use, and that's really not ideal. The signal is too weak and has to be boosted to be adequate, and that means a very high noise floor. So what about the digital interface? Well, this is what the Go 2 is obviously designed for. Here the gain settings don't seem to work either, but there's an automatic signal adjustment and it's very hot. In fact, it's a little bit hotter than I would choose, but it did not clip. Again, with the built-in microphone, the gain levels seem to work, but not with the wired microphone. And by the way, looking at it, it looks like a negative 15 decibel gain setting seems to be pretty ideal for recording, at least for my voice. As far as the sound quality was concerned, this was a much better setup as it had a lot less noise as the signal was very high. Of course, the microphones themselves are the same, so in general it sounded a bit hollow and a bit thin compared to the NTK reference. And finally, what about my phone? Well, let's take a look and a listen. All right, and the last situation with this whole thing is the ultimate run and gun. Just connect it up directly to your iPhone or your Android device. I did have to buy a separate cable for this. It was actually rather expensive, but it's a USB-C to Lightning cable. I ended up buying the Rode specific one because I wanted to make sure that it was actually compatible. And you can see that I am just using it. Let me switch hands here. Just using it with the microphone. It's not the greatest attached to my t-shirt. It's just a little bit heavy, so I would probably actually normally use this lav mic. But the advantage of this is, especially if I had a golf shirt where I could put it on a little bit sideways or something, would be that I could, of course, use the, I don't have to bring very much extra stuff, right? It's just the transmitter, the receiver, that cable, and my phone, and I can film anywhere. So anyway, just as a quick test, I'm gonna put this whole thing down. Sorry, it's gonna be a terrible view. Just random view of the ceiling. I'm gonna walk away, just make sure everything's working right. So checking, 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 checking. Test, 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 test. Hey, baby. Puppies. Hello, puppies. Test, 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 check, 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 check. Walking back, walking back. Gotta love that view there. All right, so hopefully that all worked. And just to be consistent, I guess I'll say the same little start of the poem as I have been doing. Oh gosh, let's see. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. As you can likely hear, this is far superior to the built-in microphone of the iPhone, though annoyingly enough, it only recorded to the left channel in the split mode. I fixed this in post so as not to annoy you. And of course, you can change this to merged mode to make it a mono signal, but the receiver should be smart enough to record to the phone as a mono signal if there are not two incoming channels. And Rode, you need to fix this in the next hardware firmware patch. And finally, how about the software? First of all, I'm using the Mac version, FYI. The Windows version might be better or it might be worse. I would say Rode Central, which is the software, is not quite ready for prime time. The version I'm using right now is 1.0.1, so this is really a baby piece of software, as you can tell. The software crashes from time to time. The export backup audio function does not yet work, which is super annoying. It either freezes or crashes trying to export the backup audio recording, which is obviously not great. And of course, that makes that awesome feature pretty much useless until they get this fixed. The ability to more finely control the interface of the transmitters and receiver, however, is really cool, and it's a great idea, and it gives you a more obvious way to adjust some settings, and also gives you access to some controls that simply aren't available to you via the transmitter and receiver itself. Like, for example, fine control over the gain. You get -30 decibels to 0 decibels in 1 decibel steps rather than just 3 coarse gain settings. And this gives you the ability to do safety tracks using the right channel of the split pair. A safety track basically is another recording, so if you have both of your microphones recording, one of them will record at a much, much lower gain than the other one, so in case the one clips, you can always use the other one temporarily for that particular moment of the recording. So that's a really, really nice feature. And the software gives you the ability to mark a time in a recording by pressing the O button on the bottom of the transmitter or receiver. Anyway, I expect the software is going to be improved drastically over the next weeks and months, but for now it's, less than adequate. As for the iPhone Android software, I expect that to be out shortly, as Rode has said it will be, and it'll likely have more or less the same settings as the PC version, but we're going to have to wait and see. So the transmitter receiver needs software updates to enable gain control for a wired lavaliere microphone, and to default a single input channel to mono when your phone is recording. Again, you can set the receiver to merged mode, but that means you have to remember to do that ahead of time. Hopefully Rode can provide some firmware updates to do this, as Rode Central is really nice for managing the hardware. And of course, Rode Central itself needs a few more upgrades to make it useful and not so buggy. In general, I think the hardware is about 90% done and the software is more like 60% done. Hopefully Rode will get them both above 95% in short order. So will I use the wireless Go 2, and in what circumstances and in what configuration? The short answer is yes, absolutely, which is nice. Otherwise I'd have to figure out how to return these things. Recording my normal talking head videos like this, I will likely use the Go 2 with the wired lavaliere microphone and using the USB digital interface to record audio directly to Logic Pro while recording video to my Sony Alpha A7 III, just as I do now with the NTK. If, however, I do an episode where I believe sound quality is paramount, or if you, my dear audience, notes that the quality is not good enough with the lavaliere microphone, I'll switch back to the NTK microphone. So what do you think? Is it better to have better audio or better video? I hate the mic in the shot, but it surely does sound better. When recording videos or video segments on the Rode, using the Go 2 is a no-brainer. It has much better quality than the built-in microphone on my phone or on my DSLR. And of course, I can use it directly with my Alpha A7 III on the Rode to do high-quality shoots with very high-quality traveling audio. Likely when traveling, I'll just use the Go 2 with the built-in microphone at that point, as the mics are very adequate, and the dead cats that can connect over them with a twist are pretty great to keep out wind noise as well. I love how simple and easy the Go 2 is to use and how flexible it is too. Clearly it's built with camcorders or digital USB interface in mind, much more than a traditional audio interface, but that's fine. Most of the folks who use this solution will either be do-it-yourselfers or have a very small crew, and recording directly to a laptop, a phone, or an SLR type camera, and this is a great solution for all of these situations. If you have a studio and a high-quality studio microphone, don't give that up just yet, or ever. But if you want really good sound in a super easy-to-use package, the Go 2 is perfect. Now, Rode, you just need to get your software up to snuff and let us adjust the gain on our wired lavaliere microphones. All right, I hope you found this video fun and informative. If you did, please do again like it and subscribe if you want to see more of these. And definitely let me know in the comments if you like this kind of review. Again, like I said, this is not my normal thing, but I am Dr. Know-It-All, so I'm allowed to talk about anything, right? Certainly, I'd be happy to talk about my Sony Alpha A7 III as well, but I think that's been out so long that there's been a lot of other reviews of that. Anyway, in the meantime, please do feel free to ask me any questions you have in the comments or at my email address, which is drknowitallknows@gmail.com. Till next time, bye-bye.